Welcome back to Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We're here with our Bets to the Future, Part 2, looking ahead to the 2025 NFL season. Now the schedule release is out and we know who's playing who and when and where as well, as we got a wonderful slate of international games that we're going to talk about as well. Some great news for Dublin. I already knew they were getting a game. Steelers have got their opponent. The island of Ireland is very excited, as is Brazil, Germany, Spain, and London with the games that are coming in 2025. I'm, of course, joined by Byron and Joe. Gentlemen, we're going to be sharing, I guess, our first bets for the new season. Not locked in because we're 4 months out, but the schedule release helps us kind of navigate some of those win totals and division winners potentially. How are you feeling now that we're kind of one step closer to the season starting?
Good. I'm pleased the schedule's out. I hate the drip, game here, game there, one on Netflix, one on YouTube, one in Brazil, one in Madrid, there's one here, there's one. Just announce a lot of them. Gee, we know what's happening. Just give us the entire schedule release. I hate the drip feed. I love the schedule coming out, though. I love the actual getting into the analysis, seeing where the buys are, seeing where people have got rest days. Minnesota back-to-back weeks in different countries, neither of which is America. I think is very fun. And I don't want to be a, boot kisser for the NFL, but I think they've smashed it with primetime and international this year, especially primetime and like your marquee days, Thanksgiving, Christmas, etc. I think it's looking like a real good schedule, truthfully. A lot of good teams, and a lot of the bad teams or teams we expect to be bad are nowhere to be seen. So I'll take it.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. We've done this, at least everybody gets to play in prime time once thing. Just not doing that anymore, which is really cool. I don't know, unless you're a fan of the Saints, the Titans, and who was the other one I forgot? Saints, Titans,
Browns.
And Browns. The expectation on those teams is so low that we just don't want to see them. Yeah, which, sad for those fan bases, but, good for the majority. Yeah, I agree. I'm really excited. I think they've nailed it. Like, I think we're critical at times of the stuff. Actually, I think we've just got huge games. I don't know if we've got a lot of huge games front-loaded. Christmas Day looks ace. Thanksgiving, I think this is the best Thanksgiving slate we've had in forever. So I guess we'll get into that anyway. Joe, how are you feeling where we're at kind of now that we've had the schedule release out and we're one step closer?
Yeah, like you said, it's an exciting time. Obviously, we knew what the oppositions were, but yeah, seeing who they've got like week after week and just seeing who's got a hard start of the season compared to the end, it's certainly interesting one. I think they nailed it. I'm curious if this is Bet to the Future Part 2 episode, if we can look in the future and win week 6 and we're like, oh, this Sunday slate is absolute garbage because everything's on prime time. But it's hopeful to start the year. Not everyone, most teams are looking forward to it and have high expectations. So yeah, it's a fun start of the season. Feels like the season's starting now. Now the draft's out the way, all that it's like, okay, this year's ramping up.
Excellent. Any favourite of the schedule release videos? That has become obviously a thing now every year that each team releases kind of some sort of very creative video to announce their schedule. I've not watched them all yet. I'm trying to watch them all tonight. I've probably watched about half a dozen of them so far. Any favourites so far from what you guys have seen?
Hate to say it, I'm very behind this year. I have two questions though. Did you see the Colts statement and video?
I've seen the clip and why it's been pulled down.
Yeah, so they made a video of Tyreek Hill being pulled over by the Coast Guard.
Tyreek Hill as a Dolphin.
As a Dolphin, yeah. Which apparently overstepped their license with Microsoft and Minecraft to promote using that tool. There was something else in their video which I thought was a bit untoward as well, but I can't remember what it was now. But having to put that out the day after the schedule release is so embarrassing, and it's so Colts. It feels like they're just kind of treading water in the NFL for the last couple of years. A billion years since they won the division, and Chris Ballard can't even get his schedule release right. And I'd be remiss of me not to mention what I think was trending last night as meat bounce for Josh Allen and the Bills schedule release. Not sure if I need to say any more there.
No, you can leave that on there. Joe, any favorite that you've seen so far?
No, similar to Byron, I haven't seen too many of them, to be honest. It's a bit disappointing in terms of checking out the social medias of the teams. That's obviously your role. And
is it? Am I social media officer for good teams and great
that's
teams?
certainly popping us up this year. Yeah.
I think there's some stuff. I've maybe watched 6 or 7. The Cowboys' first one was so bad they released the second one, which was hilarious. But
did they just pop on TV all year round?
Pretty much, yeah. The Chargers Minecraft one is insane. How good that is. Just a little Easter eggs and stuff. It is insane. So check that out. It is phenomenal. The Falcons Mario Kart one was brilliant as well. That was pretty cool. And the Baltimore Ravens Severance one also absolutely tremendous. A bit long. It's like 7 minutes long. Tremendous, though. Great work from the Ravens. So they're my favourite 3 so far. I'm working through the rest. The Cowboys ones were just terrible. Real bad. And the Panthers one was good as well, actually. Shout out the Panthers. Let's get into some news anyway, because we've had the schedule release and we're going to, I suppose, talk about that all the way through. That's, the rest of the episode. 2 big bits of news then that have happened this week, all centered in the AFC North, I guess. There's been a lot of news this offseason, I guess, surrounding the AFC North. Can't seem to stay out of the headlines. But Trey Hendrickson saying he's not going to play for the Bengals this year on his current contract. Turned up at the OTA or the voluntary workout, whatever it was. Stood and chatted with the media for 25 minutes and just didn't really keep anything back. What did you make of kind of what Hendrickson was saying about how he's been treated and kind of how it's being worked out or not worked out with the Bengals?
Bengals gonna Bengal. I hate it. They've paid Jamar Chase, they've paid Burrow, they've paid Gesicki, they've paid T. Higgins. Obviously, Burrow was early, but they paid all them this year. They still have $26 million in cap space this year. They've got plenty of cap space next year. The money's there. It's like Jerry Jones, Mike Brown. They're just penny pinchers. It's so frustrating because it's just, one of my all-time favorite NFL writers, personalities was Chris Wesseling. He was from Cincinnati, had a dossier of why he gave up on the Bengals in the 90s because this is what they did. Like, they do not pay players. They treat their players badly. You see it on these now report cards they do annually that people do not like playing in Cincinnati. And it's like, you've got Joe Burrow, you've got Jamar Chase, you've got T. Higgins. You have a Super Bowl window, and you don't need to do anything crazy. Trey Hendrickson isn't asking for the world. He's asking for fair market value. And, he signed a contract. It's not how the world is. Max Crosby gets a pay rise every year because he's the best. Myles Garrett just got paid $40 million because he's the best. You pay these players, above what they're getting because they're so good. You look at the Eagles, and it is just, I wish you could just replace these owners. These owners who are happy to just be mediocre, bob along through the league, and waste these, incredible players' these prime years on saving a few quid. It is ridiculous. And I dare think if they didn't have a minimum salary cap, they probably wouldn't have signed T. Higgins. They just have no interest in competing for a Super Bowl, and the players are kind of fighting against it. I just think it's sad. I just find it.
Yeah, Hendrickson's due to make just short $16 million on his sort of base salary this year and the last year of his deal, and that's compared to similar players that have produced what he's produced in the last year. And he's got 35 sacks in the last 2 seasons, led the lead in sacks last year. That's obviously tens of millions under what those other guys are getting. I found the whole approach interesting, but I think it's just a sign of someone that was just so frustrated. Yeah. And from Hendrickson's side of the story, he's had one bit of contact with the team since the draft, and that was Zach Taylor, head coach, texting him to tell him if he didn't turn up to minicamp in June, he's going to get fined.
Yeah, I'm almost surprised he didn't go full Marshawn Lynch with his comments. And Hendrickson isn't a bad apple. He isn't a complainer. By all accounts, basically it was turn up last year, it was turn up this year, and you'll get sorted next year.
Yeah.
And the Bengals, again, they're cheap, they're mean. It's just the way they do business. The word means nothing. He's gone out and overproduced his contract year on year, and it just means nothing. Like, why would you? Like, I know why you would sign as a free agent to go there, but like, they better be overpaying your initial contract because you know you're not getting treated well once you've signed it.
I was going to just out to the other side because I agree with most of what Byron said. I think it's just how they've treated him and what they've said, and then how they've acted. This is not right. Also, the only thing is he's going to be turning 31 this year, so I'm curious because I think there was something more that they were trying to offer him a shorter term contract to the long term. People were killing, the Myles Garrett because of how long it was and how old he is. But I agreed with that. With that signing, someone like Crosby is 3-4 years younger than him. So it makes sense why they don't want to give the long contracts. Probably worry that in a year or two is going to drop off and we're going to be like, oh, what a terrible contract. The Bengals can't do anything because they've got too much money in Trey Hendrickson. So I'm curious how they're going to do. Could they just not give him a 2-year, but like plenty more money? Because he's, like you said, he's certainly played a hell of a lot higher than what his original contract was. Or do they just trade him? Because they probably could get maybe a decent amount. But then the problem is if they do trade him, the team's going to have to pay him as well. So where would he go? So it's I think it's more the approach of the Bengals I've not agreed with is the main issue for me.
And moving on in the AFC North, then the Ravens talk about somebody talked about a team that the Bengals not willing to pay their players. The Ravens are, and Derrick Henry has agreed to a 2-year, $30 million contract extension, which includes $25 million guaranteed. Moves him to $15 million per year average. It's the most running back 30 years or over has been paid average per year. It was on a 2-year, I'll put my teeth in, 2-year, $16 million deal, so $8 million per year. Does that represent fair market value, do you think, considering what Henry delivered as a Baltimore Raven last season?
No doubt in my mind, yeah. No reason to think he's fell off. I think last year was I might be incorrect, but if not his best, one of his best, I know fantasy isn't everything, but it certainly reflects generally how a running back plays, was his best ever PPR fantasy season. He's crucial to the way they play. If he goes, they go. And you can afford it, pay your star players. It's not hard to do, and it does nothing but provide an uplift in your locker room to pay your leaders and pay your best players.
Yeah, Henry's nearing in on joining that list of top 10 all-time leading rushers in NFL history. And I think with a strong year this year, I think he's going to pass a fair few in that top 10. So, fully deserved for Derrick Henry. And there's just one other bit of news, actually. I wouldn't add this in what we plan to talk about. It's been, I suppose, a developing story today, I think. Have you seen this book that's been released about Caleb Williams and the main part of it being how he tried to avoid being drafted by the Chicago Bears, looking for all these loopholes and ways around the CBA?
Yeah, I've seen it. I don't think there was that much in it. I don't think the trying to not get drafted was as serious as it's maybe being made out in headline form. To me, the bigger eye-opener is how little he got from the Bears once he was there. Like, he asked to watch tape and just kind of got told, just go in the tape room then. And it's like, okay, like, if you were a young quarterback who had met with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota and then met with Matt Eberflus and Shane Waldron in Chicago, do you think you might try and get out of going to Chicago? Because, I mean, you look at what Kevin O'Connell does with his quarterbacks. I don't imagine he ever tells them just go and watch the tape by themselves and get on with it. Shane Waldron, disaster. Matt Eberflus, disaster. Both of them, I mean, Shane Waldron is out of the league, but he's certainly not in as prominent position as he was. Matt Eberflus out of the league, I believe. I don't think he got anywhere as a DC. Two men who shouldn't have been handling a number 1 overall pick and a player who, I know Jane Daniels has been incredibly special, but Caleb Williams was a unanimous, essentially, I'm not going to say you as well, Paul, but unanimous number 1 overall pick to the vast majority of NFL scouts, NFL media. Them two men shouldn't have had a hand anywhere near his development. He now has Ben Johnson. I think arrows up, and I think this will be a footnote in his career. I don't think, because Chicago has been a death knell for quarterbacks, but most players who touch it, to be fair, Soldier Field. But, you don't get better by worrying about the past. So I think arrows up for Chicago. I think improvement might not make the playoffs this year because they're in a loaded division, but I think they will improve as a team this year, regardless of what their record ends up being.
Excellent. Yeah, it's just one that's been bubbling away today.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the bits we look forward to as part of the schedule release, and tends to happen a few days before the schedule release, is the confirmation of the international games. We've six international series games this year. Seven. I can't count. 7 international series games. Yeah, 7 international series games. Yeah, Brazil, Ireland, London 3, Madrid, Berlin.
Yes, and that was the other distasteful part of the Colts video, because it's a Colts play in the Falcons, and it had the Colts Minecraft guy spray painting on the Berlin Wall.
Oh dear.
Which, I wouldn't recommend. A bit weird, to say the least.
It's a shame that some of the Knicks, they all tend to come up with quite
do this video.
fairly unique ideas, and the Colts and Charger ones are very similar. Chargers definitely did a lot better than the Colts did. There's also a Colts dig in the Chargers video. It's Andy Richardson on his go-kart running out of gas and needing. So that was very fun. Anyway, right. The international series game. So we start in week 1. Brazil, Sao Paulo, Chiefs, Chargers in, I forget what the stadium's called, but it's Sao Paulo's stadium. So we've got that. And then we move to Dublin in week 4. That's probably the one that we've been more, I certainly haven't, everybody else has a new venue or a new place to play. The Steelers hosting the Minnesota Vikings in Dublin at Croke Park. That's going to be tremendous. Sadly, I'm not going to be able to go. I really wanted to go, but I'm away that weekend already, sadly, in another country. So I'm not going to be able to make it to Dublin, which is a shame, but that's going to be incredible. Steelers Vikings in Dublin, that's a pretty good game for Dublin to get as the first one.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. See if we get Aaron Rodgers. Mason Rudolph versus JJ McCarthy, not quite as appealing, obviously, but I'm excited about this Vikings team anyway, and the Steelers are always, even without a quarterback, they'll be good value, so yeah, should be a good game.
Yeah, excellent. The Vikings are then staying on in Europe as they're hopping across the Irish Sea to London to take on the Browns, followed then by the Broncos, Jets at Spurs, and then Rams, Jags at Wembley. I think I moaned a few months ago, we've got these 3 shit AFC teams hosting, but the games could be saved if we were given quality opposition. I think in all 3 instances, we've got 3 pretty good teams, 3 playoff teams from last year, 3 double-digit win teams from last year. So I think that balances it out, and I think that's a pretty good slate for London this time. Normally very critical. I think minus the fact that the Browns are playing, but the Vikings make up for that. 3 are pretty decent games, really.
Yeah, and I do think since the end of last season to now, the Jets and Jags are pretty greatly improved. So I think they're a bigger sell now than they would have been, January 20th or whatever, when we got the teams for this year. So, yeah, I think the Rams-Jags especially is a really exciting game. You got the Duval revenge game. James Cohen, former Sean McVay disciple, versus Sean McVay.
Yeah, that's the one I think I'm looking forward to the most in terms of going. I think that's on the target to go to, Rams-Jags, I think.
Can I also say, I'm like, sorry, this but like the Vikings, everyone's saying they're playing 2 games in 2 countries, like back to back. It is only Ireland, London. There's a lot more travel in America when they have to do 2 back-to-back road games. So I think
I haven't seen much of the complaining, but yeah, I totally agree. Like,
I think people are being like, "Oh my god, they're playing 2 games in 2 countries."
It's like a real big deal of it, yeah.
So you're traveling further in the division.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
But but I think they're all good. I think the good thing, the rubbish teams they feel like the teams who are well supported internationally as well. So I think that helps. The Browns and the Jets, even though they've been, not great teams the last few decades, it always feels like they have a decent fan base, especially in the UK. So it should be fun and get some exciting games and hopefully not field goal heavy.
Yeah, well, we had Vikings versus Jets last year at Spurs. That was Robert Saleh's last game in charge of the Jets. They've had the Browns over fairly recently as well. Jags obviously are always over. The Rams are as well. I
I am looking forward to the first Vikings player to say they are looking forward to playing back-to-back games in the UK, though.
And being scolded by everybody in Ireland. Yeah, that would be funny. Some disappointment, I think, from a lot of other teams that they're, especially in the UK. Cowboys, again, just because I think the Cowboys haven't been over since 2009, likely not going to be for a long period as well, because they are on the list to host a game in Mexico. So that'll be their next one. The Niners, again, it's been so long since the 49ers have been over. They're potentially one for Mexico as well. I think it's going to be a long time before we see the Cowboys and our Niners over.
I think they said they're not going to come and host a home game there until either of them win a Super Bowl, so might be a while.
And then the other two, we've got a couple of matchups. So we have Madrid, the Miami Dolphins hosting the Washington Commanders. That's one thing I'm going to try and get to as well. And then we've got the Falcons against the Colts in Berlin. So I think a pretty good round of international series games. Plenty to look forward to. Quick shout out then, guys, any of your kind of particular favourite games, full stop, from the schedule, ones that you're looking forward to? There's so many kind of big rematches from last season in terms of kind of playoff games. Got a Super Bowl rematch. Which games are you looking forward to the most?
I'm going to pick Week 11 Sunday Night Football, Lions at Eagles. I think best two teams in the NFC, probably. Head-to-head. Should both have very strong records at that point, in my opinion. The Sunday Night Football from Week 11 through like Week 14, 15, I think is really good, though. But if I had to pick one game, I'd go Lions at Eagles,
Nice. Joe?
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's plenty, and we probably can go into the, who's come out on top with the schedule. But, Week 12, Thursday Night Football, Texans, Bills, I feel like that could be a big game. I think with what their divisions are looking like, I think the other teams are getting slightly better, some teams slightly not. But I think that could be a big game for playoff implications, and having that on the Thursday Night Football, like I said, it seems like that's no longer just we'll put the shit teams on there, and people are still going to watch it anyway since it's an Ireland game. It's certainly improved, and certainly be happy. And I'm sure we'll check. And the Christmas games. So we're going to talk about the holiday games now, because they were, like you said, I think it's the best Thanksgiving slate ever.
Yeah, that's my favourite one. I'm going to trump and not to say one game. That slate, Thanksgiving, that's always look forward to Thanksgiving anyway. Obviously, always selfish. The Cowboys obviously always play. But we have obviously now what we have is a great Detroit Lions team.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've had over the last couple of years, but obviously we never had before. So, and then we've been treated to what should be a great game late as well. So we've got Packers at Lions kicking off Thanksgiving. Chiefs at Cowboys, Patrick Mahomes' first start, we assume if he's not injured, at AT&T Stadium, never played at Dallas before, Thanksgiving primetime. And then we've got the Bengals and Ravens to finish it up. Absolutely brilliant.
I'm guessing the only issue, especially like here in North America, is like, when do you eat Thanksgiving dinner? There's going to be no time to step away from these games. Usually there's a snooze game. You think, we'll take an hour or so of this game. We're not bother watching the first half and get some grub. And now it's like, what do you do?
Well, you just wait until the Cowboys are 2.5 touchdowns down at halftime and just go then.
I don't know. Just having salty gravy as you're crying your eyes out.
Yeah. And then Christmas Day equally is good as well. Cowboys, Commanders, Lions, Vikings, Broncos, Chiefs.
Yeah. And I also say, like, the Friday 28th, the Black Friday as well, is Bears, Eagles. So even after the Thanksgiving, if the Bears are who we expect them to be, winning the off-season again, that should be another great game 2 days in a row.
Is that the Royal We, Joe, yeah?
Yeah, Royal We.
Excellent. Right, well, that was a roundup of everything, schedule release and news and everything else. Let's get into kind of the bets chat then. That's the whole point of Bets the Future episode. So we've got a bit of a structure, otherwise we could all have 50 bets that we love that we'll be talking about. But we're going to talk win totals first. We're going to have 1 over 1 under each that we really, really like. At this point, things can change, of course, in the run-up to September. We're then going to also chat through a division winner that we really like, a Super Bowl winner at this point, an award winner, and that should wrap us up. So I've got loads of over and under, so I can hang on, guys, and let you go first if you've only got kind of a couple. Byron, do you want to go first with your over?
Sure. So as I was putting them in DraftKings last night, once we got the schedule out, some of these I've took a more aggressive number than what their actual over-under line is. So all that being said, the New York Jets' line is 5.5. I've taken them over 7.5 plus 200. I think they've grossly improved. Can you improve grossly? I think they've vastly improved. I think the Dolphins are a team who I think are going to be not as good as last year. So I think that's a bit of a softer division there. They've got a good home schedule, in my opinion. I have them going 10-7 on my initial projections. So I think over 5.5 is an absolute slam dunk. And I have them at over 7.5. Like I say, at plus 200, I think it's great value. I didn't want to go over 9.5. I think that was pushing it a little in terms of, attacking that line a lot. But over 7.5, I think gives you a lot of room to play with it. A lot of wiggle room. Over 9.5 is plus 600. But ultimately, I've gone over 7.5 wins, plus 200. A lot of faith in Aaron Glenn. I think if you look at their roster top to bottom, it's very strong. A couple of issues at depth at pass catchers, but Breece Hall is still one of the best running backs in the league. His rushing ability, his receiving ability is absolutely dynamite. Justin Fields has his limits, but if you can structure a game plan around him, I think you can get success. And yeah, over 7.5, I think is a very solid bet at plus 200. I was surprised to see that the line was 5.5 for their win total. I just think that doesn't reflect who they are. It does speak to who the Jets are historically, though. I do realise there's a reason the book is placed that line there.
It's hard to get that stink off you, isn't it?
It is.
I've got the Jets at 6 wins in the playthroughs I've had of the season so far. So yeah, that's why I kind of left it, because there wasn't enough of a gap for it for half me. But yeah, Joe, Jets, fine. I think you like that one as well.
Yeah, that was my main one. I put that on. I think it's not fun. I've got another one. I put that on like a month ago for some money on the Jets. I think the Patriots have improved, but I'm not seeing this like I've seen people where they're like, oh, they're going to hit way over theirs, and they're 7.5. I just think it's some of the odds for like the division for the Patriots. I think they've got the quarterback, but I still don't think they're a set team, and Mike Vrabel's coming in, and his defenses were never great at the Titans. That they won that through Tannehill and Derrick Henry, and do they have that kind of play with that number one wide receiver, but they had an AJ Brown. So yeah, I think the Jets are going to play well. I just like what they've done all this year, and I'm really excited to see how Justin Fields does with this kind of offensive line, because if they all if the rookie shows how much we think he might do, then that could be one of the best young offensive lines in this league. And giving Justin Fields that time with the running backs, with the 2 tight ends, I really like the Mason Taylor pick in the second round. I think he's going to have a huge year. I think this could be a really exciting offense to go along with that great defense with that head coach staff. So I'm loving that. And yeah, I put it over 5.5. I put that on I think a month ago. So I'll definitely be looking at the 7.5 what Byron has as well. So yeah, I love that pick.
Nice. Joe, what's yours then? Sorry, I know you were saying you were struggling for and maybe one under, so that's why I let Byron go first on the over. So apologies, but yeah, what's your favourite over then outside of the Jets?
Yeah, it's all good. I've got a few, so I'm gonna go, which I think might be contentious just with the chat we had before. And I'm going to go the Seahawks over 8.5. I really like this. I just think the NFC West has such the easiest schedule compared to any other division. They have the NFC and AFC South playing. And when I just look at the Seahawks, I think they're going to be better than what people expect. Obviously, you've got the Sam Darnold effect. Is he going to be able to produce what Geno did? I think he won it with the Vikings team. And when I know Vikings have the superstars at wide receiver, but I still think the Seahawks has got a great roster. I think that defense is going to improve under Mike McDonald. With some of the players they got, having a Jalen Milroe package in there, I think it's going to be super exciting. And when you look at their schedule, it's a tough division, but I think they can at least split with the 49ers, with the Cardinals and Rams. I can see them easily splitting with them. And then when you look at some of the other teams, they've got the Jags, the Titans, the Falcons, the Colts, the Panthers, even like teams like the Vikings and the Commanders. I think they can push them pretty close. So at 8.5, I think they're going to get 9. And I think this division is going to be a tricky one where each team lands, but they've all got the potential to win from like 7 games to like 13, just because how that schedule is, how it's fallen. Teams can do great, and they won 10 games last year, and they're probably got an easier schedule. So I'm all in the Seahawks at over 8.5 at plus 115.
Well, Joe, you set me up wonderfully, because I'm going to take your San Francisco 49ers as my over for basically the same reasons. The schedule is so soft for the NFC West teams. The Niners in particular, look at the toughest games they've got are probably the 2 games against the Rams. They're realistically the 2 most difficult games on the Niners schedule. I've just seen it. There's just soft teams everywhere, because they've got the AFC South. They've also got the pleasure, the joy of playing the Cleveland Browns late in the season as well. I just think it's a real easy run for the Niners. I think the line was 11.5. That was right, isn't it? I've noted it down.
Line's 10.5.
10.5. Sorry, 10.5 even. I've got them at 13 to 14 wins, the Niners. I think they were going to be in contention for the number 1 seed in the NFC. I love the over 10.5. It's plus 110. But I also love, as an alt line, over 12.5 plus 370 for the Niners. That's over 12.5, so 13 wins plus is plus 370. In that schedule, where are they losing games? When you just look at the teams that they're playing, and I could be miles off it here, but I just think that schedule is so soft.
Yeah, I agree. I think 10.5. I just think with the overall of the because how the defense ended, and they've lost quite a lot of teams. So I think there could be a few teams where they lose to, like, they all struggle against the Cardinals. They used to beat the Seahawks all the time, but like I've just talked about, the Seahawks managed to get that monkey off the back last year. So, and the Rams, I feel like the Bucs and the Texans will be the tough games. But yeah, I can see them, like, that's why I was in the Bears, if like we've said, the off-season winners, the Royal We. That's why I wasn't too concerned going into this year, because I knew how easy the schedule would be, but I don't know if that's going to paper over cracks when it gets to the playoff time. So I think they're going to have a good year, and hopefully, some of these youngsters step up and fill the gaps of the players have lost. I just think, there's some games, like, how the team is now, are they guaranteed to beat the Falcons? Are they guaranteed, to beat the Bears, to beat, the Jaguars? I'm not quite sure now than I was the previous year when they had that, that roster set and had all these veterans and top quality players. But they should be the favourites. But I wouldn't be surprised if, they somehow lose to the Cardinals and Jags at week 3 and 4.
And the Niners going to be favoured in all 17 games here?
Maybe not Texans. It depends how the Bucs and the Rams, like we said. It depends how they start, and if they get the injuries like they did get last year, then God knows what will happen. So hopefully they don't get the injury bug like they did.
Yeah.
They are favored in 15 games.
50. Which 2 are they not? Is it the Rams? One of the Rams games?
Week 5 and 6. So that is, Rams, Bucs.
Rams and then Bucs on the road. Yeah.
I have them. Sorry.
Cool. Yeah, go on, Byron.
I was going to say, I have them at 13 and 4 as well. I have them, and truthfully, I don't love it. I have them losing to Seattle week 1. I have them losing to the Rams, the Bucs. And is that it? Oh, and the Texans, all on the road. I just don't. I kind of agree with you, Joe, that I don't love this iteration of the Niners team, but I have them 13 and 4. This is one of my bets as well, over 10.5, because the schedule is unbelievable. And the last 4 weeks of the season, they play the Titans, at the Colts. I think Kyle Shanahan could put one of us at quarterback and win those games. Then they do host the Bears, they do host the Seahawks. Those could be spicy teams by then, but I can't pick them to lose at home to those 2 teams now. I have them at 13 and 4 as well. Again, I don't think this is the best iteration of the Kyle Shanahan 49ers we've ever seen by any stretch, but it's hard to see them losing 6 games or whatever. You'd have to get to 10 and 7 games.
Yeah, I don't mind the bye being week 14. I prefer like slightly a little bit early, but like teams like the Bears, I think they're week 4 or 5. So you got in week 17 after having a long stretch without a rest, and you've just had that. So if they're like there and thereabouts, and they would have played all the division except Seahawks. So if they're leading the division, a bye week, and you've got them 4 teams coming up, you'll be fairly confident winning that division.
By your one road game is in the Dome in Indianapolis as well.
Like
you've no worries about traveling for weather. You're hosting 3 of those games, and the other one is Indy in the Dome. So, yeah, before the bye, you get a second bye as well because you go to the Browns.
Yeah, I love that one. Yeah, so the even plus 110, decent value. Better than even money.
Yeah,
it's the plus 12.5 where I think the real value is plus 370. So just short of 4-1. Niners over 12.5 wins. Joe, just so we don't steal it, you're under. I know you mentioned in the chat before you were struggling finding win total unders, something that you were comfortable with. Where are you at? Who are you thinking is the under?
So I struggled at the beginning because obviously being a glass half full kind of guy, so I'm optimistic with all the teams. And a lot of the unders I liked, they were very low. But then I did see one which I was quite surprised. I've got the Dolphins under 8.5 at plus 120. I couldn't believe the 8.5 for the Miami Dolphins when I don't see why they're better than the Jets. I don't see why they're better than Patriots at 8.5. I was expecting them to be like 6.5 or 7.5. I was like, ooh. But when I look into the schedule, I'm not seeing wins. I think it could be one of the years where they have an absolute disaster and they're picking in the top 5. And obviously depends on fingers crossed, touch wood, that he's fit all this year. But you do have to worry one bad head injury again. We've seen it with him. The last couple of years he has one season where he's fully fit, but then it happens again. So. Yeah, 8.5. I was surprised how high that was and at that price. And
well, we've just seen as well a season where Mike McDaniel, had no plan B to it, and then now plan B is Zach Wilson. Like, we were chatting beforehand. This was my big under bet. It's minus 8.5. Under 8.5, minus 160. I like the under 6.5 at plus 170. I've got the Dolphins down as 3 to 4 wins. I think this is going to be a mess. Mike McDaniel might not last the season. I think this is going to be a mess.
And I think definitely how it starts as well. So they've got Colts, Patriots, Bills, Jets, Panthers. If you go 1-4 there, then you're like, oh, geez, and I can see them winning 4 of them games, but I can see them losing all them games at the same time. It's not the Bills game. So yeah, I can see them going 4-1 or 1-4. So obviously if they start 4-1, their bet's gone. But I can see it easily being the other way around and struggling along the way, and then it piles that pressure on. And that you think 2 years ago we thought that head coaching job was set for the next 5-10 years, and now it's like, oh, could they get a little bit antsy and another form of Shanahan assistant looking for a job.
Yeah,
next Nottingham coordinator in San Fran.
Mm-hmm.
Come on home, Mike.
Yeah.
And throughout the draft, again, that's where you really start looking at the depth charts and think. I've been singing it the Dolphins are picking 13 after Dallas, and I just kept saying it they can go anywhere because they have nothing on their roster. They could have went quarterback. I don't want to revisit the draft, but there is so many gaps in that roster. They lost Tyron Armstead to retirement, obviously, who was the key to their offensive line. I have them 4-13 as well, Paul. Under 6.5 was my bet for the Dolphins at plus 170 as well. When you mentioned it off air, I knew it was going to be the Dolphins. That's a roster that is inept. It is empty. I love Tua as a player. I think he's really good. Even if Tua plays 17 games, I don't know how they get to 500. Well, you'd have to tie your game, I guess, in this day and age. But I've got it under 6.5. The fact the line is under 8.5, I think is the opposite of insulting. It is so generous to the Dolphins. I don't know where you get 9 wins for this team from. I mean, Tua has to be perfect. Tyreek Hill coming off second wrist surgery and attitude problems and being arrested by the Indianapolis Colts is
Ramsey leaving, possibly.
Yeah,
more certainly.
I don't know how you look at that depth chart and say this team is winning 9 games. And then you look at the schedule. I think, Bills are the big boys of the division. Patriots are improved a lot. Jets are improved a lot, in my opinion. I'm trying to think what division they have out of schedule by quickly looking at their division. If someone knows, AFC North, it looks like. So yeah, you've got the Ravens, the Steelers, the Bengals. I think the Browns were a pushover, obviously. I don't think the Steelers are the team they were, but I think they're a better roster than the Dolphins.
This iteration of the Dolphins can't beat the Steelers. Even a bad Steelers team, they can't beat the Steelers.
They have got the NFC South, but again, I think some of them teams are improving as well. I wonder if this is like when we do our bets just before the start of the year, it's like, oh yeah, we made the money now rather than like at the start, because it might be like 6.5 because people just go heavy on the under.
Yeah, those odds will certainly change the line with me. But yeah, I love that one, Joe. Plus, yeah.
And the thing is, they only won 8 last year. That's what I don't understand. They won 8 last year, and it feels like they're the worst team.
Yeah.
But they're guaranteed to have 2 of 17 weeks this year. So,
Byron, you're under as we're all over that Miami one.
Yeah, sure. So again, I've gone with a team under what their win total is with Vegas. The Arizona Cardinals listed at 8.5 wins. I have taken them at under 6.5 wins at plus 300.
I'm with you. That was my one. Next,
nice.
Dolphins, Cardinals. Yeah,
I'm pleased to hear it because I have them at 4-13 on the schedule, and again, they could get a game here or there, but I struggle to see why you're picking many wins for them. They're in a really tough division. I know they play the AFC South and the NFC South. They've improved on defense. I'll give them that, but their offense is stagnant from year to year. Kyler Murray became a real concern, not just like, is he recovering from injury? He just doesn't look like a very good quarterback. He can scramble, but his accuracy is off. Marvin Harrison needs a big year. I love Trey McBride, but the O-line hasn't improved, and it's not a hindrance, but I just don't think they're, again, to compete in that division. I think you've got to be a really good team. I think the Rams are stacked. I think the 49ers are incredibly well coached, and there's few coaches get more out of their players than Kyle Shanahan. You look at coaches like Nick Sirianni, who wins a lot, but goodness me, the thumbs on the scale a little bit, it feels like, with the coordinators and GMs he gets. I think Shanahan does an incredible job every year. I don't want to make out anything against Gannon. I think he's a fine coach, but I don't think he's elevating that team to levels they can't reach. I had real concerns with their offensive play calling and scheming last year. And they're another one. I don't know how you picture this team getting to 9 wins for over 8.5. Like I said, I took them at 6.5 because it's plus 300. I think that's a great bet. I have the Cardinals 4-13. Maybe you give them another couple of wins somewhere. Like I do have them losing like at home to the Falcons. So yeah, that could easily switch depending on how the Falcons turn up. But I just don't think they're a very good team. And so much is reliant on Kyler Murray being the number 1 overall pick, Kyler Murray, and not this version we've seen since he returned from injury.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've got the Cardinals at 5 or 6 wins. Yeah. So yeah, plus 300. I love under 8.5, even at minus 120 under 8.5. I just don't see a path to 9 wins. They might be better.
I always like I said, Cardinals always seem to beat the 49ers at least in one of the games. I just that schedule. When you look at the beginnings, they got Saints, Panthers, Titans, Colts within the first 6 weeks. They come win, and they're a kind of team that just beats teams where you'd never expect.
Yeah.
Each year, so like they beat the Cowboys a couple of years ago when they were like, we thought, they're going to go 0-17, and they beat big teams. But I think that bet will be nice if he gets to. So the last 6 weeks, they've got the Bucs, Rams, Texans, Falcons, Bengals, Rams.
I just laugh looking at what I have as their season. Mm-hmm. I have their last win in week 5 against the Titans. I have them losing the next week to the Colts on the road because it's on the road. I think they're pretty standard. Similar levels of team talent, so I've gone with the road team. And yeah, I didn't realize that was the last time I had them winning is week 5 against the Titans. So I haven't been to the Niners and beaten all them soft teams you mentioned, but I think that's where the soft teams end on their schedule. I don't think they're as good as the Jags. I don't think they're as good as the Falcons. And I don't think this is a coaching staff that's going to elevate a team to win these games that they have to. And I doubt about the Falcons. I have more faith in the Falcons as an overall team. They better too, giving up a first-round pick next year. But I have a lot of faith in the Jags. I don't actually have them making the playoffs next year at this point, but I just trust Liam Cohen. I think that team's better, again, relatively significantly than the Cardinals as well. So that's not one that I'm really worried about picking, even though it is on the road.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. Well, as you've taken my 2 favourite ones, I've got 5 kind of ones I really like anyway. So I'll take the next one. I'm going for what I think is likely to be another car crash. Indianapolis Colts. Under 7.5, but I love under 5.5. Under 5.5 is plus 260. Under 7.5, 110. I think it's just going to be a mess in Indianapolis. I really do. How that GM stayed on and led them through another off season, I do not know. Tyler Warren may turn out to be very well, but as the Raiders found out last year with Brock Bowers, doesn't get you very many wins. A great first round tight end, or it certainly doesn't in the first year. So, yeah. The quarterback situation is what's going to get very murky very quickly early in the season if Andy Richardson makes it to the start of the season as the starter. If not, Daniel Jones, I can't see him winning 6 games with this team. Under 7.5, obviously love, and obviously I think the under 5.5 is great as well at plus 260. I think I've got them at 5. I didn't get them any higher than 5 wins, so. Yeah, the Colts for me. I just think it's going to be a struggle. I think Shane Steichen might end up being a really good coach in the future, but I think he's going to end up getting just wrapped up in this, and he might go with Chris Ballard at the end of the season, and for a fresh duo to come in together in Indianapolis. But it's such a poorly run organisation. No way on earth they win 8 games. I've struggled to see them getting to 6.
Yeah, I just put in the chat Colts minus 5.5. It's one of mine as well. Under 5.5. Exactly what you've laid out. I just don't see it.
I'm worried that we're so aligned, Byron, on a lot of these. Colts going to have 14 wins here.
If the Colts do the 14 wins, I'll do the Hot Wings challenge twice in a row. And you can click that. And I mean this season, not in the next decade. What optimism is there in Indianapolis? The line's worse. The quarterbacks, if you've got 2 quarterbacks, you've got none. And
quarterback's tired.
Yeah, it's out of gas, as the Chargers have pointed out. I have them 3 and 14. I agree. Under 5.5, I think is a smash at plus 260. I haven't looked at the market yet, but they'd be one of the teams I'd be looking at getting the first overall pick as well. Because I just think if things go south, I don't know where your leaders are in Indy.
I think that's Giants all day long. When you look at the schedule, it's I think that was the harshest schedule for any team was the New York.
Do you know what's funny? Before I looked at the schedules, when I was first looking at the over-unders for teams, I was like, the Giants over 5.5. They've made some improvements. They could be all right, and I have them at 2 and 15.
Yeah.
I really thought the team's improved. They're probably going to be fine. That schedule is brutal for the Giants. Yeah, they could well, but I don't know what. Actually, I haven't looked at the market. Who's going to have the fewest wins or who's going to have the 1 overall pick? Giants, Browns, Saints should be favourites.
Well, yeah, the Giants Saints could be the biggest game in Week 5 for the number 1 pick next year.
Oh dear. Excellent. Right, we'll not go for any honourable mentions because we're guilty of wasting a lot of time doing that. Let's move on to division winner. Then again, gentlemen, I'll let you have the floor first. Who's kind of your favourite division winner, whether that's value, odds, or just straight up winner? What are you liking?
Joe, you go ahead. I don't want to steal anyone's thunder.
So I could go for the one which I'm more confident, but it's not the better odds, or one where I'm like, I'll go for one because I've just talked about them as well. Seahawks plus 600 to win the division. I don't think it's set for any of them teams to win it. I think, the Rams are a good team, but I'm still not convinced they're this juggernaut. I've talked about the 49ers. I think it's a team where everyone's very similar. So, the Seahawks, technically, they got the same record as Rams last year for that division. So I don't see why not. And a plus 600, I think they're the third favourite there, and it's a soft schedule. So I can see them easily win the division. Yeah, plus 600, I think it's a nice price if I'm going for the one where the value is.
Value, excellent. What do you think, Byron? A bit of love for your Seattle Seahawks?
Well, that's exactly what I wanted to say. They are no longer my Seattle Seahawks. Joe, please take them.
Well, I can't do the Seahawks being a 49ers fan.
You took them, mate. Your heart has spoken to you. Don't deny it. You're a Sam Darnold boy now. Embrace it.
Well, he's a former 49ers, so got a bit of love for him.
Nice. Coming off the back of 14 wins. Byron, your favorite division winner, I guess, or your favorite bet for a division winner, I should say.
Yeah, sticking in the NFC West. I've said this since pre-draft, since free agency. The Rams plus 200 to win the division. I think the Rams are one of the best teams in the NFL. They don't have quite as soft a schedule as the Niners, so I think it could be a close run thing. But yeah, I think the Rams. I don't. The schedule, I guess, is a reason. But them at plus 200 and the Niners at plus 145, it just doesn't make sense to me. The Rams, I think they're just stacked everywhere. They added Devontae Adams, who is we look at what happened last year, a big upgrade on what Cooper Kupp was. Matthew Stafford is back and dialed in. Puka Nacua is Puka Nacua, obviously. I like Terrence Ferguson, who they added at tight end in the draft. They added Jacquez Hunter, who's one of my favorite late-round rookie running backs. They obviously have Blake Corum last year. The line's improved. They also have, obviously, Kyron Williams, who just does nothing but fall in the end zone. And that defense is one of the best in the league, getting a year older, but, in a good way, not, aging out. These prime players who are going to, age well. And they've added to that defensive tackle area as well. I just think, Poona Ford is such a big unit.
My favourite free agent signing, I think the best free agent signing of the offseason.
Yeah, just kind of underrated, but fits and needs so perfectly. If they had Jalen Ramsey to it, I think that defense is genuinely one of the best in the league from what they got out of it last year with nothing but rookies. Jared Verse, a potential game changer at the end. Yeah, I love this Rams team, and I just think at plus 200, I just don't really understand it. Other than the Niners schedule, I think you look at the rosters and they're quite a bit apart, in my opinion.
Yeah, in the wins list, basically, I have the Rams losing out to the division on the Niners on a tiebreaker. I think it's going to be real close, so I love the Rams at plus 200 as a value shot as well. I'm going to have to go to a different one. I need to stop going first. I'm going to go, there's a couple. I can't quit the Bengals, but I'm going to go with the Packers at plus 275. Packers at plus 275. I think they could run the Lions close. I think it just shot 3-1. It's a good shout. I think I've got them again. In one run, I had them a game behind the Lions, and the other one losing out to the Lions on a tiebreaker. So I think they'll be pretty close to. I've kind of got them. I think about 11, 12 wins. That could be enough for you. That could be enough to win the NFC North potentially. Assuming Bears are better and things like that as well, so they might be able to steal a win or two. So, yeah.
I do love that one. That was going to be one of mine as well, just because when you look at the Lions' schedule, they'll have the 3 easy games, really, like Browns, Giants, Steelers. The rest of them are gauntlets. When you just look at what they're playing in week out, it's crazy for them, to just the first 6-7 weeks they got Packers, Bears, at Ravens, then they got Browns, then they got Bengals, Chiefs, Bucks, Vikings, Commanders, Eagles. That's their schedule where it's just playoff team after playoff team after playoff team.
And they finished twice on the road in the division. Vikings at Bears to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the Packers, because the Packers just consistently win 10 games, don't they? That's just So I think another year. That young wide receiving core, is Golden going to be any good? I've suggested not, but he might be. Can he be that deep threat that kind of not had the consistency of Christian Watson with his injuries and drops? But can Golden be that thing to open up that offense and help the other wide receivers? And they've got two tremendous tight end options in the passing attack. So Josh Jacobs off the back of a real good year. Line that's improving, defense that's stacked with high draft picks, first round talent. I think the Packers will win the SC North. I think at plus 275, I think it represents big value. So Packers plus 275 for me. Excellent. Super Bowl winner early.
Why don't you go first, Paul?
Shall I go first? Yeah.
Give me your finalists, not just your winner.
Oh, well,
if you don't have finalists, don't. I'm sorry, I had them both.
Yeah,
so
I've played it through a lot. I think finalists now, I'm taking the Bills as my winner at plus 700. At this point, I've got the Bills as number 1 seed. Bills-Eagles matchup, I think. Bills at plus 700. They're going to do it. Josh Allen is going to deliver for the city of Buffalo. They keep coming close. They keep falling to the Chiefs in the playoffs. I think this is the time where they finally get it done. Get back to the big game and get it done. Plus 700. I think they've obviously committed a lot in the draft, especially to defensive side of the ball. They scored 30 in the playoffs and got beat, so that was clearly what they needed to address. There's still maybe some questions about they've not got kind of that massive, big wide receiver one option, but they did a pretty good job without that last year. In Shakir, I think Keon Coleman might take a step. Are we going to see Dalton Kincaid come alive, hopefully, in year 3? We shall see. But, yeah, I think the Bills have got all the bits. They'll hopefully get this James Cook situation sorted out as well in advance of the season. And, yeah, I think the Bills can do it this year.
Don't think I'm going to get meat bounced out of the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
Joe, do you want to go or do you want me to?
I'll let you go first.
Cool. Very, very, very similar. So I have the conference championship as being the Eagles beating the Lions in Philadelphia and the Bills hosting the Super Bowl champions to be Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson finally gets it done. Just repeat your narrative, but we'll swap out the team names and player names. Yeah, I had the Ravens Eagles. I was cracking up as soon as you said Eagles versus Bills. Exactly the same, yeah. Eagles get back but fall short, and Lamar finally gets it done. And yeah, exact same narrative. I think really strong team. Right, Derrick Henry, maybe into retirement. No reason to really presume it. It's a nice ending. So yeah, I've gone Ravens to win it outright plus 700. Ravens Eagles Super Bowl matchup plus 1700.
Nice.
Yeah, so I didn't actually do the my conference. I've just got 2 winners. I've got a bit of pressure because obviously last year I managed to pick the Eagles at the best of the future part 1.
1600, wasn't it? Yeah, 16.
Yes. So I'm going for team. I've got 2 teams. We've talked about one a bit, so I do like the Rams at plus 2000. I'm going to go the Bucks at plus 3500. We always think that. I think it's always a thing. Like last year, we thought the Lions are going to get there. These are the big teams, the 49ers, all that, and like the Eagles. Like even though they're a good team, they did like sneak up, like talking about the price, and they were playing the Commanders. I think the Bucks are just getting better, and they managed to keep that squad. And I just like what they've done. And there's always like a surprise team who gets to the conference final. So I think the Bucks could sneak them, and then it's depends who they're playing and whatnot. So the Bucks are 3,500. I think they're the favourites to win that division. I think they're going to win that division again just because I think they're clearly the best team there. So they're obviously going to get the home advantage to start off in the playoffs. So, yeah, Bucks at 3,500. I also do like the Rams at plus 2,000, which Byron's talked about the Rams quite a lot. So it's that's the reason. So I'm obviously a Seahawks, Rams, and a Cardinals fan this year since I've egged them all up.
Excellent. Good stuff. Some varied winners there. Awards time. So we'll touch on just one award winner. Like there's so many, we're not going to go through them all. But the end of season awards, obviously, I proved quite good markets. And if you're obviously getting it early, they're fun futures to root for as a Heisman Trophy winners. Get on that. But yeah, any award winners that particularly tickling your fancy, gents?
Yeah, I'll go first because I only got one. Offensive player, just talking about the Rams. I've got Puka Nacua at plus 1,600. It could be a year where he gets the Triple Crown, and if someone doesn't go off, they always seem to we'll give the MVP to a quarterback, and then we'll just give it to the best offensive weapon for that. So I think that Puka Nacua at plus 1,600. I think the Rams could get the number 1 seed, so that all helps in their favor where they could have a big year. And I think Stafford is going to be trying to throw big, and having Devontae Adams there as well, just to help take that load, I think he could have a huge year.
Excellent. Byron?
Also, Offensive Player of the Year, CeeDee Lamb, plus 2,000. I think he's due one. I think he's a premier wide receiver. Pickens is going to open things up a little more than usual. Keep Dak healthy for 17 games, and CeeDee Lamb's going over 1,500. He can it's easy for him to do, but he can easily lead the league in receptions. He can easily lead the league in triple crown, essentially, touchdowns and yards. I think he's such a special player. He's one of the faces of that franchise. I also think Dallas, I don't think they're going to be terrible next year by any means, but I think they're going to be playing from behind more than they'd like. And that means more passing volume. And I know how good Dak is. I was having a bit of a spirited debate, I guess, with somebody on the internet recently about essentially Dak is perennially underrated because he plays for the Cowboys. He's a really, really, really good quarterback. Adding George Pickens in there is only a good thing. It doesn't necessarily mean the Cowboys are making the playoffs or winning the division, but I think CeeDee Lamb's going to have a monster year, and I think at plus 2,000, I was kind of surprised, truthfully, to see it was that long. I thought it'd be more in the 10-1 kind of range. But yeah, that's my bet, CeeDee Lamb.
Excellent. I'm going to go for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Plus 2,200, 22-1, RJ Harvey, running back of the Denver Broncos. He's a second-round pick for the Broncos. He is going to be their starting running back. Obviously, they've had problems, and Javonte Williams went and just not really found a solution yet under Sean Payton. Have they for that running back role? I think being a running back in a Sean Payton offense is a good place to be. So yeah, really like RJ Harvey's chances of having a really big season. It's tough, right? Because you've got that market. You've got obviously your Aston Gentis. There's loads of options there, and lots of higher draft caliber talent. But I really like RJ Harvey's opportunity there to shine in Denver. And yeah, I think they will use the running game a lot more if he proves to be a reliable option. Yeah, I love RJ Harvey at plus 2,200. Could get nowhere near, but yeah, I think it's a good value long shot probability. The other one, I'm not taking it yet. Travis Hunter to do the double, plus 6,500. Offensive player of the year, offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, plus 6,500 for Travis Hunter. If he'd landed somewhere else, maybe. I just maybe don't think he's going to be able to do that in Jacksonville. I don't think he's going to win either one, actually, in Jacksonville. So, which is sad. But, yeah, it is an honorable mention, but it's a slightly different bet, Joe. So, apologies. That wraps us up, guys. An hour.
Joe, I think, had a season special bet as well.
Oh, Joe, sorry.
If we're sneaking Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter is actually, if you're betting in the US, that is 100-1 with DraftKings. So
nice.
And it's doable. If he gets 6 pick sixes, I don't think he needs to play a lot on defense. I think he just needs to make highlights on defense.
Yeah.
And if he has it, I overpaid for. I have an auction league that's like bankroll, it's Dynasty. I ended up paying more than double what Ted McMillan went for to get Travis Hunter on my team because I really wanted him on my team. I think he's going to be very, very special. I think it's a long shot for a reason, but I think it's more live than a lot of long shots. And Joe, I'll stop rambling. You go with your season special.
Yeah, no, it's just chucked in the chat. Yeah, I do like Jackson Dart to start the year at plus 1,600 for the Giants. Just throwing out there now, just with their schedule. It's not like the Patriots last year when you saw it and you was like, oh yeah, after the first 5-6 weeks, you put him in then because it was really hard beginning of that season. The Giants have just got, tough teams after tough team after tough team. So Jackson Dart to start the year at plus 1,600 and putting it in now before
their bye is until week 14. So waiting to see him at the bye. Brian Daboll isn't getting fired without seeing his rookie.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's plus 1,600 for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a plus 160 bet, it's a plus 1,600 bet. But yeah, Brian Daboll, if they're 1-13 or 1-12 at the bye, he's probably gone. He's not getting to make that next pick for the quarterback. And yeah, he's not going down without seeing Jackson Dart play because that's why you draft a quarterback in the first round because you want to prolong
and it's only Russell Wilson and James Winston. It's not like it's
Yeah, I think that's a really smart
one. Good quarterback.
Yeah, and
Tom DeVito.
The start of the Commanders, the Cowboys. It's not the scariest first two teams on defense to play. You're gonna have to score to keep up with them because their offenses are really good. But yeah, it's not like then you've got the Chiefs and the Chargers. That's more defenses you don't want to play. But give him that 2 weeks to get his feet wet. It's not gonna be a winning season regardless. Yeah, I like that as a bet. Yeah.
Excellent. Good stuff. Right, that does wrap us up. That was Bets to the Future Part 2. We'll have a more in-depth betting preview episode much closer to the start of the season. Joe, Byron, thank you as always. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Remember, go follow Good Teams and Great Teams Cover. Podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Overcast, video on YouTube. We're on X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at GTW_GTC. Next week is the first episode of our Mastermind series. We're doing a Mastermind ripoff. So we've got 16, I hate using the word content creators, but 16 people who do similar things to what we do from across the UK and Ireland to take part in a full-on ripoff of Mastermind. Byron and possibly Joe will be taking part in later episodes, but we've got Heat 1 with 4 fantastic people. So tune in for that next week and test your NFL knowledge with a vast range of questions that I sat and wrote like an idiot. Anyway, listen to it.
You know, you've now got to complete the series as well. You've got episode 1 coming up because you've started, so you will finish.
And on that note, see you next time.